In the unforgiving skies of World War II, a bomber was only as strong as its formation. Bristling with an array of 50-caliber machine guns, B-17 Flying Fortress was designed with one bold premise of flying deep into enemy territory without a fighter escort. But theory soon met the reality, and what followed was a desperate phase-by-phase evolution of defensive tactics that ultimately shaped the outcome of the air war over Europe. The U.S. Army Air Force began daylight precision bombing in Europe on August 17, 1942, when 12 B-17s struck a rail yard at Rouen-Sotteville, France. These early missions were small due to limited number of available aircraft and meant to accustom crews to combat. Initial raids faced light resistance, giving a false impression that the B-17's defensive firepower was sufficient. Formations were loose, V, or echelon shapes, which were adapted from pre-war doctrine for easier navigation and collision avoidance. But with only about 12 bombers per squadron and wide spacing, the formation couldn't benefit from interlocking defensive fire. This left them vulnerable to coordinated Luftwaffe attacks. This weakness became clear during larger raids. On October 9, 1942, the 92nd Bombardment Group lost 30% of its force over Lille, which was an unsustainable rate. The experience showed that B-17s could not survive without tighter and mutually supporting formations. This prompted a shift in defensive formation doctrine. As raids expanded to over 60 bombers, such as the strike on 5's Lille on October 21, 1942, German defenses quickly adapted. Bf-109s and Fw-190s coordinated mass attacks and overwhelmed the B-17's loose V formations. Because simply increasing bomber numbers proved ineffective, the 8th Air Force needed a new defensive system. The new combat box formation placed 18 B-17s in a three-tiered structure, consisted of lead, high, and low sections, each with 6 aircraft. This staggered layout minimized blind spots and concentrated firepower. It created an interlocking field of about 450 50-caliber guns. The box also enabled synchronized bombing, which improved accuracy. Despite this innovation, bombers remained unescorted on deep raids. On August 17, 1943, during the Schweinfurt-Regensburg mission, 376 B-17s faced massed Luftwaffe attacks, 60 B-17s were destroyed, and 55 others written off, or equal to 16% loss rate. These catastrophic results showed that even the combat box could not ensure survival without long-range fighter escort. By late 1943, raids reached 200 bombers against key targets like Regensburg's aircraft factories. The Luftwaffe countered with heavily armed Fw-190s and massed attacks, striking from head-on where B-17s were weakest. To respond, the U.S. adopted a more comprehensive form of combat box called the tight box. It compressed the 18-plane combat box into a denser unit with near wingtip-to-wingtip spacing. Multiple combat boxes were then combined into massed combat wings of up to 63 bombers, boasting over 600 guns. This created formidable firepower, but demanded extreme precision and discipline from crews. However, head-on cannon attacks against B-17s on the edges of the formations still inflicted devastating damage. The flaw was exposed on October 14th, also known as the Black Thursday. Out of 291 bombers sent to Schweinfurt, 60 were shot down, 17 written off, and 121 damaged, or equal to 20.6% loss rate. The disaster forced a halt to further unescorted deep raids. As Luftwaffe continued to refine their anti-bomber tactics, deep, unescorted raids were no longer sustainable. The heavy losses of 1943 forced a shift in doctrine, with General Karl Spaatz overseeing the bombing campaign and General Jimmy Doolittle commanding fighters. The arrival of the long-range P-51 Mustang changed everything. Its 500-mile range and drop tanks allowed full target escort. Doolittle ordered fighters to stay with bombers and aggressively attack the Luftwaffe, supported by extended-range P-47s and P-38s. With escorts providing primary defense, formations could loosen to reduce collision risk and ease crew fatigue. The combat box remained, but primarily for cohesion and bombing accuracy. As raids reached over 1,000 bombers, the numbers effectively overwhelmed German defenses. Losses dropped from 20.6% during Black Thursday in late 1943 to 3.6% in early 1944, although steady rate of attrition still meant dozens of bombers lost per mission. The Luftwaffe was slowly ground down, losing over 3,000 fighters between January and May 1944 alone. By the end of 1944, Allied air supremacy was complete over Germany. The story of the B-17 is a powerful case study in military adaptation and strategic evolution. What began as a rigid and flawed doctrine was eventually transformed by innovative tactics and groundbreaking technology. Ultimately, it evolved from self-defense to tactical dependence on fighter escorts, which secured a victory in the skies over Germany. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next videos.